Hi, and welcome back to Philosophy with Phil. With me, Phil Cohen. As I said in the, I'm going to do a couple of videos about Christianity and Judaism's attitude towards Christianity. Before I do, though, I'm going to cast out a big fat health warning to say Judaism doesn't seek to proselytize. We're not here to switch people over or convert people from other religions, either by coercion or certainly not through violence. We don't condone that sort of behaviour, we don't actively do it. We may go and try and help people that are Jewish come closer to their roots and to identify with their Jewish heritage in some way. But we certainly won't go outside of our religion and try and seek to coerce people into it. And secondly, we don't do the opposite. We don't put down other religions. We live in a free and fair society where people have the right to express themselves and to worship as they see fit. We have freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of worship, and Judaism very much condones and supports that sort of attitude and that ethos. In fact, one could go as far as to say there are certain parts of Judaism, admittedly not a lot, that actually feed off other religions, that need people need there to be people in the world that don't believe in Judaism, so that we can carry on with what we do, to do what we do, and we work alongside people of other faiths in that respect, in that regard. I'm not going to talk about Christmas. I'm sorry if I gave that impression. I was going to. There's a great video out there by a talk actually given by a rabbi called Rabbi Lawrence Kellerman on the Simply to Remember website, where he talks about the roots of Christmas. Again, I'll give you a health warning about that one. It's quite frightening. Some of the watered down customs that we have today, where their roots lie, and the pagan traditions they feed off. So again, I'd give a health warning on that. I'm sure he would agree with me. He's not out there to convert or to put down Christianity, but to show that there are things that, for those who are Jewish that seek to celebrate other religions, they need to be aware of what these religions, what some of these customs, where they come from, and what they're lending their support to. What the aim of this video is, what these two videos are about, is that there are strands, certainly within Christianity, that seek to justify and support their religion from the Torah, from Tanakh, from the Old Testament, from the Bible. And when people come to my religion and say to me, there are parts of your religion that support mine, and misinterpret my religion, my sacred text accordingly, then I take exception to that, especially when they're using those to prize away people from within Judaism that are Jewish, and to convert them out of our religion under false pretenses, I would argue. And that's what the aim of these two videos, is to do. Firstly, we're going to talk more generally about religion and Christianity and so on, and in the second video we'll talk more specifically about Jesus. To start with, let's start by stating some basic facts. Christianity is an offshoot of Judaism. There's no doubt about it. Jesus was Jewish. He would have practiced as a Jew. There's a running joke that if Jesus were to come back in a second coming, he'd probably want to go to a synagogue rather than the church, because that's what he would have been used to praying in. But then again, there were many offshoots of Judaism at that time. It was quite a time of turmoil. After the destruction of the first temple, build up to the destruction of the second temple, and the build up to the destruction of the second temple. There were many sort of factions splitting off from Judaism. There's the whole Pharisees, Sadducees discussion. There's the Karaites that were emphasising only the written law, and so on. The Essenes that you see in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There were many sort of splinter groups within Judaism, and yes, some of them were messianic in their outlook. Certainly when it came to their approach to the Romans. And so it's not surprising that Christianity sought to seek its roots within Judaism. In fact, you can look at the book of Matthew, the Gospel of the book of Matthew certainly seems as though it's targeted at the Jews. This this attitude towards the Jews is actually seen in other religions as well. We see it in Islam, where Muhammad actively sought to go out and convert Jews. His first target was primarily the Jews. That's why there's parts of the Quran where he speaks very, very positively and praises the Jews. But it becomes apparent that they're not going to be converted by the new religion, by his new religion, which again has roots in Judaism. They see themselves as descended from Ishmael, the son of Abraham. But when things change and he realises that he's not able to convert the Jews, that's when things turn a little bit nasty, and many of the verses that are seen as being, should we say, offensive to the Jews even, are brought into play when he vents his frustration at not being able to convert the Jews to Islam. Christianity really came to a head, became formalised at the Council of Nicaea. I think it was about 325 BCE, where the Romans sought to impose a unified religion on their empire and have a state religion. They adopted Christianity, but it was a kind of patchwork quilt of various other pagan religions. So, for example, they wanted to show the Jews. They wanted it to appeal to the Jews, so they introduced the concept of a Sabbath, a rest day, as is mandated in the Ten Commandments, that you should rest on the seventh day. But to appease the sun worshippers, they moved it from a Saturday to a Sunday. Many see that as being a bit strange, that one religion could so blatantly change one of the Ten Commandments, which is a fundamental 10 fundamental statements of our creed, and yet that was done with a view to sort of as a compromise to kind of appease the various factions within their empire. I'll end by just making two quick points. Firstly, Judaism is a very rigorous, thorough, meticulous religion. It's a very practical religion. It's very much about doing. We don't do a lot of thinking, as I've said in previous videos. There's a lot of laws about how we do things, both in the practical application of what we do and the theology as well. If something's true, it's got to be consistently true. For example, we're celebrating the festival of Hanukkah, which on the face of it sounds very straightforward. On the first day of Hanukkah you light one light, be it a candle or oil or whatever it is. On the second day you light 2, on the third day you light 3, all the way up to the 8th day and you light 8. Sounds simple. Okay, well in Jewish law we have laws about when you're allowed to light. When do you light during the day? How long do the lights have to last for? If they go out, what do you do? Do you relight them? Who lights in the family? How many lights? Does each person light, or do you just light one per household? Is it down to the person, or is it down to the house? Where in the house do you light them? Do you need to light them by a window, or can you light them on a table? Can you light them within the house? Can you light them at the back? Obviously, you've got to take health and safety into account if you're lighting things. All of these laws about what you light, what you do, what you're allowed to use to light, what you're allowed to use for the wick, what fuel you're allowed to use. Are you allowed to use candles? Are you allowed to use electricity? And yes, can you rely on an iPhone app or some sort of electronic means of fulfilling your obligation? These practical things, as I say, extend into theology as well. And if there's something in the Torah that's mentioned, that there's two things that seem inconsistent, or two or more things that seem inconsistent, we've got to reconcile these and show that maybe there's a context that's different, or they're talking about different things, or whatever. So when we talk about inconsistencies in the Gospels or other sacred texts, we assume that the other religion holds them in the same esteem that we hold our sacred texts. And then if that's the case, then these inconsistencies are a big deal to us. And they need to be addressed. So it's not something that can be easily brushed under the carpet. The other thing is, as I've said, there does seem to be this sort of post facto justification for Christianity based on Judaism. After all, Christians were trying to convert Jews because that was the new religion. They saw Christianity as replacing Judaism. God had forsaken the Jews, and a new religion, a new covenant needed to be established. Christians often talk about a new covenant, and they seek verses from the Old Testament, for example, Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 30. And they try and use those to say that Christianity has replaced Judaism. But if you look in context at these verses, and it's important to do that, you can see that there's no sense of it being a replacement. It might be a refresher, it might be a new start, but it's certainly building on the old, not replacing it. And why would it? We're told Judaism and the Torah will last forever. And in fact, the success of the Jews has often proven this to be the case, and the fact that we flourish and the fact that we continue to practice as we do is often seen as an irritant for our other religions, particularly Christianity and Islam, who sought themselves to be replacing our religion. Thank you very much for watching this video. As I say, that's the end of this one. The second video will look more at the life of Jesus and some of the aspects of his life that are shown to be reflective of him as a spiritual leader and as the Messiah. All the best. Bye-bye.